topic is focused on sustainability and sustainable mobility. And as we would like to get an introductory insight into how the river and river tourism is managed in a sustainable way, and how sustainability is incorporated into a wider strategic regional or tourism governance model, either in the region or in the country. There will be two parts or two sub-themes, so to say: sustainable tourism development in strategic planning, and the second part, sustainable mobility and river tourism products. So in the first part, the four good practice good practices will give you the insight in understanding the bigger picture, how the region, the city, or the river and groups of stakeholders within it are functioning in a coherent, sustainable way through a clear sustainability framework. Then we will have a Q&A session, and after the coffee break, we will have two more presentations from sustainable mobility and river tourism products.
Two possible answers. 45% of you, that means our 10 out of 25, said that you believe sustainable mobility on the river is of prime importance in promoting sustainability also among residents. And then it was evenly spread between the first answer, saying that you believe there is no sustainable river tourism without sustainable mobility on the river, and the same result, that you believe it's vital importance and should therefore be in the forefront of river tourism strategies. And yeah, that's about it, Natasha. Giving the floor back.
Yes, thank you very much. Now we will give the microphone to Stephanie Scholl, and after we have warmed up with the poll, we are going to concentrate on sustainable modes of mobility. And first of all, we are going on the river Elbe with its environmentally friendly hybrid catamaran Liinsand. So, Stephanie, please.
Yes, hello and a warm welcome also from my side. Thank you very much for the invitation to tell you something about our hybrid ferry on the river Elbe. It's, next chart please. It's a good practice because yeah, it's the first attempt to establish a tourist ferry connection across the river Elbe with an environmentally friendly drive. And I thought maybe it might be nice to have a short impression. So we start with a video to show you around. Oops. Was that the end of the video?
This was the end.
Okay, that was maybe the problem, because it was 2 minutes and 8 at your presentation, and it's 3 minutes totally normally. But however, I think it was okay for an impression and to get an idea about the ferry connection. What you saw is we can see it on this regional map. It's the connection between the Hanseatic city of Stade and the metropolitan area of Hamburg. And it's three trips a day back and forth. Hamburg is not the only stop, but there's also Weede, you could also see in the video. And one time a week, the ferry also on Thursdays, there's a stop in the Liinsand, which is also a very important part of this region. Next chart. Yeah, so I don't know if everybody has these boxes. There are gray boxes on my presentation, but maybe not everybody sees it. First about the project initiation. That was maybe the hard part about this project. It was the problem that there was already a ferry connection between Stade and Hamburg, but 12 years before the service was terminated, and now it was the idea to get a new connection to transport tourists in the region. And the Elbe should no longer be perceived as a separating, but rather a connecting element. Because if there is no bridge starting in Stade connected to the other side of the Elbe, and so of course the river always is, especially for tourists, first of all a separating part when you want to move between those two parts. So we had meetings with different companies in the region running passenger vessels within 2 years, starting in 2017. Established companies that run their business on the river anyway. But it was hard to find somebody for this connection. And then finally we visited the ship Wattentaxi in Husum, so it's a little bit further north, and invited the company Wattenfährlinien to Stade to convince them of the Hanseatic city and also our diverse maritime offers that we have. And that was very, very fruitful. They were enthusiastic just after our first meeting. And then we, as the Stade Marketing and Tourism, so the local DMO, initiated a meeting with the Hamburg Port Authority in terms of capacities and also the shipping pier, because of course it would have been nice to have the landing exactly in the center of Hamburg, which is tricky. Now the ferry stops in Hamburg Altona, which is also a very nice part of the town and very close to the city center. So the ferry moved within the running season 2019, which we didn't really think that could happen just within a few months, from the North Frisian Wadden to the Hanseatic city of Stade. Next chart, please. Yeah, so about the, I was asked to tell something about the project itself, about yeah, how many people use the ferry, etc. So the main part, because why I'm presenting this topic here, is that it's of course environmentally friendly. It's a hybrid catamaran and it sails the Elbe with low emissions, and in the harbors we even have an emission-free battery power used. The ferry runs, everything what I tell you now is in normal times. From Monday to Sunday, so every day during the season from April to October. It also runs on public holidays, and there were special trips in 2019 also, for example, in the winter season to the Christmas market, etc. It can carry 50 passengers and up to 15 bicycles, which is a very important issue too, because many people use the ferry to combine ferry trip and bicycle tour. And as I said, from Stade via Wedel, which is also on the northern part of the River Elbe, to Hamburg Fish Market, and on Thursdays to the Altersland. In addition, sometimes the ship is asked to have charter trips to special other destinations within this region. Yeah, that was also a very nice part of the project. It was very, very successful in 2019. As I told you, we started in August. We had 5,000 passengers in that month. Normally, an average about 300 passengers per day. And they estimated 50,000 passengers per year. But due to Corona pandemic in 2020, unfortunately, there were less than 20,000 passengers because there were, of course, different months where the ferry just didn't run at all. Yeah, to give you an impression about the prices, in 2020 it was 16 euros for an adult one way, round trip 32 euros from Stade to Hamburg. 5 euros for a bicycle, and there were, of course, lower ticket prices for if you only took not the whole way, but just parts of it. Yeah, and the tickets can be booked for trips online, of course, and also via the hotline of the Stade Marketing and Tourism. And of course, people can also be spontaneous and buy their ticket on board, provided that there are still free seats available, which was in the beginning really not always the case. Next chart. Yeah, I was asked to tell you something about the financing and the resources. I am limited in that topic because it's not the Stade Marketing and Tourism paying for the ship itself, but of course the owner of the ship, and they don't offer all the dates. What I can tell you is that of course you need nautical and technical equipment in addition to the ship itself. They ran 2 crews in 2020 because in 2019 it was that successful that they rented a second boat. So they had 2 captains, 2 mechanics, and yeah, really 6 trips a day, both sides. It was really, really nice. There was there is still 1 managing director and 1 superintendent in the office. And since coronavirus, within the last year, they decided not to rent the second boat anymore. So there's now only 1 crew and 1 ship remaining. In addition to the ship itself, there are several external costs like insurance, like the tax and fuel, of course, costs for the class of the ship and the flag, port dues. As I told you, there are some reduced costs for the harbor because it's a hybrid ferry. And of course, maintenance and marketing budget. Next chart, please. Yeah, for the support of us, of the local or regional authorities, as I said, the project was initiated by the Stade Marketing and Tourism because, of course, we as small Hanseatic city, just so near the metropolitan area of Hamburg, has a big interest in a project like this, because also not only the inhabitants of Stade, but especially the tourists always kept us asking, is there really no ferry? You have got such a nice river here, but there's no ferry. There were ferries and still are from the Altes Land to Hamburg, and also in the north of Stade. There was a connection, or is still a connection, but not from Stade itself. So we initiated it, and when the company said that they will move to the city of Stade, the city organized public transportation from the city center to Stader Sand, so that's where the ferry leaves, by bus for departures and arrivals for each day, for each ferry. And especially for the first months, the Stade Marketing and Tourism had very extensive, offered very extensive marketing and PR support. So we organized press conferences on the boat with local and regional journalists. We had radio and TV stations on board. There were trips for multipliers, different press releases. Yeah, so it was really, it was a lot of work, but of course it was worth it, of course. Since 2020, we are responsible for the marketing, and we handle the marketing, or most of the marketing. So we create the flyers for the ferry line with a timetable, posters, are responsible for advertises, press releases. What they do is they do their own social media, which is of course nice, because they are every day on board, have the photos, and can act better within social media than we can. But of course, we published the marketing on our social media channels for the Stade Marketing and Tourism, also for them. And what we did and still do is we offered a ticketing system, our ticketing system, because they didn't have one at the beginning. And the handling online and via the hotline. Now, during the last months, they also have their own ticketing system, and we use them both. Yeah, next chart, please. Challenges encountered and way forward. Well, there are challenges, of course, as I told you, and especially, of course, during these times. To achieve a cost-covering operation is not easy in these days. The numbers of users were very, very high at the beginning in 2019. Of course, a lot of inhabitants of Stade and also of Hamburg used the ferry. For tourists, it was the perfect connection. So we had a very, very good start. it was, of course, it's always a challenge that you increase the regional and the supra-regional awareness also after the beginning and after the kickoff, to always have a new impulse there. Sometimes it's really also a challenge to communicate the added value of environmentally friendly behavior to tourists. Yeah, of course, the development and improvement of the service itself. So the fleet was, as I said, already extended to 2 ships, and due to coronavirus, we've got only 1 now remaining. And of course, there were questions, especially from inhabitants of Stade, whether it's possible to have to use it also for commuters. That was, of course, also the emphasis on the ferry 12 years ago, the former connection. But well, we will see if it pays off, and then the connection could be extended, of course, to include commuters. But at first, we keep our fingers crossed that within this pandemic times, the connection itself remains as it is at the moment. Yeah, next chart, please. Yeah, to one of the points that I said before, the eco-friendly solution contributed that to its success. Of course it did, and the fact that the ship sails environmentally friendly has helped at the beginning a lot with the press, and ensured lower port fees in Hamburg, and the multipliers thought, of course, that's interesting, and it was in people's minds. But we have the feeling that unfortunately most of the customers don't really seem to care much. Of course, the speed and the punctuality are most important to them. So that's if there's criticism, it's about being on time and the connection between the ferry and the bus. Does it work? Things like this. What we realize is that people are astonished about the quiet arrival and departure within the harbor. So that's something that they realize, because they are surprised, because it's there's nearly no voice. But nevertheless, the eco-friendly drive will get more and more important in these days, and especially younger people very much focus on this topic. So it'll be worth it, but it always needs to be communicated over and over again. And we also thought about maybe putting an emphasis on the ferry itself, so that people really realize and see that this is a hybrid ferry. So what is a strategy about electrifying a wider ferry fleet on the river? Of course, in principle, an expansion is planned and had already been realized with the Ljubljana, the second ferry. And the hybrid propulsions will continue to be used. But due to ongoing pandemic, these plans have been put on hold at the moment. And then I was asked, what about sustainable offers on the ferry itself? Any steps taken? There's at the moment, there is no really catering on board. The trip is rarely short. and first it was of course the main thing to establish the ferry itself, to have a look with how many people do we need to run the business, and of course the costs needed to be low, and they said that they would have needed another person to have on board with the catering. So at the moment there is no catering, there's only like a box with some snacks. So there's no big potential to have steps taken to use less plastic. But of course, when we have special trips to special destinations, or like in 2019 to the Christmas market, and there is a catering on board, then of course they focus also on that topic. Yeah, thank you very much. If there are any questions.
Thank you, Stephanie. We will, there are some questions, but we will answer them later, or I hope you still stay with us after the last presentation. So with our last presentation today, we are going to France, to Val-de-Marne. So this is department southeast of Paris. And Mr. Fadel Martini will present us how does their organization help long-term unemployed people to integrate in the social and economic life, what kind of services they provide, and how is it related to the river tourism. So please, the microphone is all yours.
Yeah, it's okay. Thank you. Hello. So I'm gonna present you our you call NGO association of Île de l'Eau about the boat trip, shuttle, and also some other activities that are very important for our for the global way of function of the association. So next one. So our association is quite old. We were founded in 1982, and we used at the beginning to start to make some organize some holiday stay on board for youth people all around the France, and we stopped this kind of journey for different reasons at the beginning of the 21st century, especially because of the evolution of the all navigation rules and the way of the organization around the France. So we relocated our activity in the upstream of the River Seine. So one part is on the Marne River, and one part is also on the river, the Seine River. And our aim today is to keep this project to get navigation available for everyone. That means that navigation should be, there should be an access to a navigation to everyone, whatever the budget of the family of the person is. So to do that, we started with an included social program. I'm gonna explain you now on the next how we do. So we have different, navigation is a transverse activity, and we have one activity on the river ecology maintenance, especially of the protect and sensitive area. We are doing some protect minor erosion activity, especially on the island of the Marne River. But also we are doing collecting floating waste in the river. We're doing that on the Marne River almost from Vers-sur-Marne, that means on upstream of Val-de-Marne, up to the confluence to the river, the Seine River. We also do the river cross ferries for pedestrian and bike only, and some shuttle and cruises. And I'm gonna make a focus on this point later. Another part, we are doing also animation and environmental education. We are trying to raise awareness of general public on also educational cruises. That could be on different subjects, for example, on floods, because our region is quite concerned by floods, because we just before Paris, and in local politics, Paris should be saved from the floods. So to be saved from the floods, that means all the impact is before Paris. So it's upstream Paris, that's the main consequence could be done. Next, please. So how we work. So we have different partners, mostly public administration, especially in the case of this social program, because they support us for the survey, mostly for these unemployed people that we got as employer in our association, but also with local authorities, different kind of schedule, means department, district, cities, and other, and also with foundation. We have about 35 different organizations that can help us. This time we use it also to get some professional training and practices. We have one special association that makes safety boat assistance and boat license for these unemployed people, and some volunteers and permanent staff for training to driving boats. The budget of the association is about €1,100,000 for 2021. It's quite difficult to separate all the activities from another, because our aim is first the unemployed people inside the association, and we use the different activities to help them to get their own way and their own success in their life. And that could be through tourism, that could be through navigation, or to any other possibility as environment, jobs, or something quietly different. Next, please. Here you can see some of our establishment at the east of Paris. So we have different kind of places. We have places where we have some harbor where we can stay for long staying during the year. We have 3 places, but mostly we use some seasonal harbors, and these harbors are all through the Marne River mostly. And we have also some ecological works that we do very, as to say, very frequently, and that's also all around the river area. Next, please. So navigation, every year we have about 40,000 passengers that come on our boats for cruises or just for river cross ferry. We're going to see that just after on the focus. The river ecologic, we have different sites where we work, so to maintenance the riverbanks and to make some floating rubbish collection. About 25 different actions during the year for animation and sensibilization about environment, and also about all the things concerning our rivers. It's about 150 class a year, from youth to about 15 years old, mostly. We have also our social and professional insertion program. That means we have about 40 persons a year in our association. The challenge for us for the next year is to sustain our seasonal river cross ferry and boat shuttle during the whole year, because we only on season during from May to end of September, usually mostly June to end of September. And we would like to connect this activity to the urban transport system for the next Olympic Games in 2024. We have another challenge, is to change our energy. We would like to change for electricity energy, and maybe what I would like more to do is biogas, because it will be a local energy. But the problem for us is that we have so different places to park our boats, and we have a place in some harbor for just the season. So how can we use our boat the rest of the year if we don't have a place to charge or to fill our boats with the gas? Next, please. So river cross ferries, the boat shuttles, that's almost the same. We're doing that from May to the end of September. It's like the small boats that you can see the picture just here. And it's available only on the weekend. During the afternoon, we call this boat, we give them the boat catamaran, and it's very environmental friendly because we make so few waves. That means for the riverbanks, it's less injuring the riverbanks. This boat can accommodate to 10 to 12 persons. So the river cross ferries are just going through one riverside to the other riverside. It takes about 5 minutes. So we have four places. So on the riverside, mostly far away from the bridges. So it's a possibility for the pedestrian and bikers to get on very easily when you're far away from a bridge. And most of these are free of charge. For example, we have about 15,000 passengers each year on our boat. And it costs, if you include a part of the salary of the unemployed people and the staff that's manage these people, it's about, for 2 boats, about 50,000 euro a year. But what I have to focus on is that it's not possible to do that only on this activity. We need to have other activity for during the rest of the year, and especially if it's on board with educational training with schools, and also with all the works on the riverside, on the river banks, for our environment. Because this, you need to train the person to get the license, because you need to help them to get a job, and sometimes the job doesn't come just after the season. You have to keep them with you in your association and give them other activities to get a new opportunity later. Next, please. So we have also commented cruises. This is in Samar des Fossés. It's about 50 minutes hour of commented cruises by these unemployed persons that they can have the chance to speak about their own works, I mean what they have done on the island and how they protect the area and what their job. And it happens every Saturday and Sundays from June to the end of September, one departure each hour from 2 to 6 p.m. In 2019, we had about 356 persons. It was a little bit less last year, so that's why I just write the year, the reference is 2 years ago. And the cost, this is 50,000 also a year, with a financial support of the municipality for part and also the public administration for the salaries of the unemployed person. Next, that's it. So if you have any question, please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, Adele. I think now it's Misha's turn again. So for another poll question just regarding these two good practices. And it seems that, yes, Misha, go ahead.
Here's the final question, a very simple one. Just choose one of the two good practices we listened to that is most transferable to your region. So let's concentrate on this aspect. And you have a possibility to add, I know, other good practices, and we can, you can mention them in the questions and answers sessions that will follow. Okay, already 20 out of 43 voted, so we are quicker this time. Just a few seconds more, but it somehow stopped. So I'm just going to share results. It's, I think you see them, Natasha. Can I just check? I'm not sure.
Yes, I can see them. I cannot vote because I have,
okay, so,
but I can see them.
56% the last one that you just heard, and 44% the first one. So they were, seems inspirational, both of them, and also transferable to your region in a quite equal way. Okay, Natasha,
yeah,
this is about polls.
Okay, thank you. Now, there are some questions, and I would like to ask both Stephanie and Fadil, can you, the same actually, who are the users of your services in terms of age, origin, purpose? Are they mainly for leisure or for business also?
I can start. Maybe for us, it's only for leisure, because the ferry times are not fitting for commuters at the moment. So it's for leisure trips, and it's both inhabitants of Stade and Hamburg, more or less 50-50. So there are a lot of people using it in both sides. And it's but not only, of course, for the inhabitants, but also for the tourists. Of course, we have concerning exact numbers, there was a running business from August 2019 to the beginning of 2020, and then we had Corona and everything was different. And for our region also, the what is the correct English name for it? Like daily tourists? Is it?
Yeah, daily visitors or
daily visitors.
tourists. Yeah.
Are very important also in our region. So they used it a lot. Yeah, but no commuters at all. And
Okay.
from the age, it varies. Families, older people, it varies from day to day. From, of course, at the weekends, there are other users than during the week. During the week, they are older. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And you, please, Fadel?
Yes, for us, mostly is local inhabitants. Mostly, we can say person from the east of Paris. We have some Parisians that come to us. We have also some tourists, but not so many. Mostly, it's the family are coming all together. It's like on cruises, especially on cruises. It could be done by all the age. It's interest all kind of ages of people. I mean, you can have until the elder to the just a little child, and sometimes just for fun, because we are on the part of where the navigation is quite easy. We can let some kids driving the boat, so it's something that can interest the family. And yeah, we are doing that by today just for leisure. That's sure, but in fact we would like to get a connection with the urban transport from Monday to Sunday, especially in the morning or at the end of the day, because there's some part in Joinville-le-Pont, for example, if you want to cross the river at this place if you are by bike or by foot, you have to make 1.5 kilometers to get one bridge. So it will be very interesting to have a cross at this place, because we have then our RRA, that means our
timetable.
The track, we have our subway just at the opposite of the river, so that's going directly to Paris. So that will be an interesting place. And in this place also, we have a big camping of the east of Paris. And also it will be very interesting for tourists that they come to the east, to the camping, to go through the other side of the river to the train station, the subway station, all the way long, all the week, all the day, every day, I mean. Yeah.
Just maybe one addition to cyclists, the 15 bicycles that can be taken. That's a really important part. It's such a positive aspect. Like cycling is in our region very, very important. People love to go with their bikes on both sides of the river, and it's really an added value that you have another ferry. As I said, there are other ferries connecting other parts of the Elbe, and now there's another one, and you are so flexible by bike depending on, is it a family, so there are smaller people who can only, children that can only make some kilometers by bike on their own, so you have a shorter trip, or you can drive by bike longer distances and take other ferries. So that's that's an added value.
Okay, another question for you, Stephanie. How did you convince the company to create this new ferry line? Which arguments did you use?
Of course, we can go into the details also afterwards if it's interesting for somebody especially. In general, I think it was a combination of that the business that the company ran at that time was tricky. That was the reason why the other companies on the River Elbe were not so much interested, because they had a running business which was okay for them. The company, the Vattenfährlinien, they had a really hard business in the area that where their former business was, because they had there were a lot of other ships driving through the different isles in that region, and it was like a taxi service by ship. And for the taxi service, their boat was even too big, and there were not so many visitors on that ferry. So it was also a little lucky, because they had a hard business. In addition, of course, I think that our trip to them, the opening was convincing to tell them the advantages of Stade, the connection between Stade and Hamburg. We were very honest when it came to why the former ferry service didn't work out and what could be learned by that. And then when they came to Stade, seeing that this is a really nice Hanseatic city with a lot of maritime offers, so the whole package then I think was convincing. But of course, it was also their hard business before, which was a plus for us.
Okay, I saw only one more question for Stephanie again. So how much does it cost, this ferry, and what are the costs of the Stade Tourism Board? Did you receive any financial help on the regional or state level?
No, we as a local DMO didn't get any support. It was our it was of course also our service to the ferry to offer manpower, which was it was really, especially during the first months, it was a lot of working hours for marketing and organization and press, but it was always the main goal that we thought at the end of the day it will pay off for everybody. Of course, I have to admit, I can ask that. I have to admit, I don't know if the ferry owner got some kind of support, because the company I'm working for is a local DMO, and I'm not in the costs of the ferry owner. So that's, I'm sorry for that. I don't know how much it cost. They had, of course, they had the ferry already. They just moved the ferry, but I don't know about what exactly they pay as harbor fees and running costs for the personnel. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. If there are no more questions for our speakers, I would like to conclude briefly based on our good practices presented today, I would say that when we talk about sustainable tourism or sustainable tourism development, sustainability, of course, means much more than just taking care of our environment. Then sustainability principles refer not only to the environmental, but also economic and social cultural aspects of tourism development. And so if we want to have a sustainable balance, then these three dimensions need to be established to guarantee its long-term sustainability. And maybe the last but not least, that the development of sustainable tourism is a process, not a goal that can be achieved. And showing also in the chat with all these questions, asking about monitoring. So we can say that it requires constant monitoring of impacts and regular implementation of preventive but also corrective measures. And of course, we would like to encourage positive impacts for host communities and natural environment. But sustainable tourism should also maintain a high level of tourist satisfaction by providing meaningful experiences and raise awareness of visitors about sustainability issues. So with this, I would like to conclude today's webinar, and you are all warmly welcome to join us tomorrow when the main topic will be the environment. So thank you and goodbye.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you.